this video is about the single mom got lost at the aquarium, and a rich stranger started a conversation. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. Part 1. The single mom got lost at the aquarium. The air was thick with the scent of salt water and the hum of excited chatter as Leela Adams navigated the crowded halls of the Oceanic Wonders Aquarium. Her 7-year-old son, Max, scampered ahead, his wide eyes reflecting the kaleidoscope of colors swimming in the massive tanks. It was a Saturday, the one day of the week when Leela could afford to put aside her freelance graphic design work and indulge in a day of adventure with her son. "Mom, look, a clownfish!" Max exclaimed, pointing animatedly at a vibrant orange and white fish darting through the coral. He turned back, his face lit up with pure joy, and Leela felt her heart swell. Despite the challenges of single motherhood, the sleepless nights, the juggling of bills, the loneliness that sometimes crept in, days like this reminded her why she fought for every moment with him. "Isn't it beautiful?" she replied, kneeling down to his level, just like in Finding Nemo. Max giggled and tugged at her hand. "Come on, let's go see the sharks." As they made their way through the winding corridors, Leela couldn't shake off the feeling of being slightly overwhelmed by the throngs of families, the shrieks of delighted children, and the constant movement around her. She often felt like she was drowning in a sea of responsibilities, but here, surrounded by aquatic life, she found a semblance of peace until she realized she had lost her bearings. "Wait, bud, let's check the map," she called out, trying to catch up with Max, who had sprinted ahead. The map was a colorful illustration of the aquarium, and she squinted at it, trying to locate the nearest exhibit. "Mom, over here." Max's voice cut through the noise, and she looked up just in time to see him standing in front of a large tank filled with glimmering jellyfish. Their translucent bodies floated gracefully, illuminating the room with an ethereal glow. "They're like a dream," Max whispered, captivated. As Leela joined her son, she found herself lost in the moment. The way the jellyfish pulsed softly, their movements synchronized like a dance, made her momentarily forget the weight on her shoulders. But as she reached out to touch the glass, a figure stepped into her peripheral vision, interrupting her reverie. "Impressive, aren't they?" came a smooth, deep voice. She turned to see a man standing beside her, a tall figure adorned in an impeccably tailored navy blazer, his tousled dark hair framing a chiseled jaw. He had an air of confidence that was both intimidating and alluring. Leela's heart raced, though she couldn't tell if it was from surprise or something else entirely. "They are," she replied, forcing herself to sound calm as she glanced back at the jellyfish. "It's like you're witnessing something otherworldly." "Exactly," he said, his gaze shifting from the tank to her. "I often find that the simplest things can be the most beautiful." A brief silence fell between them, and Leela couldn't help but notice the subtle warmth in his eyes, as if he was genuinely interested in her thoughts. She felt a blush creeping up her cheeks and quickly redirected her attention to Max, who had wandered over to another tank. "Mom, look, that one looks like it's glowing," he called out, pulling her back into the moment. She smiled at her son, relief washing over her as she remembered why they were here. "Incredible, right? I wonder how they get that color." "It's bioluminescence," the man chimed in, his voice rich with knowledge. "Some creatures have adapted to produce their own light, which can be for attracting mates or warding off predators." Leela turned back to him, intrigued. "And you know this because?" "Because I like to know things," he replied with a playful grin. "Or maybe because my little sister is obsessed with marine biology. I get roped into these excursions too often." Leela couldn't help but chuckle at his confession. "I can relate." Max has been dragging me to every educational place he can think of. It's either the aquarium or the science museum. Ah, the joys of being a parent, he said, his expression softening. I'm Marcus, by the way. Layla, she introduced herself, surprised at how easily the conversation flowed. There was a warmth to his demeanor that put her at ease, something she hadn't felt in quite some time. Nice to meet you, Layla. So, are you and your son big fans of the ocean then? Max is definitely a fan, she laughed, glancing at her son, who was now fascinated with a school of fish. I'm just trying to keep up with his enthusiasm. It's hard being a single mom sometimes, you know. Marcus nodded, and she could see the understanding flicker in his eyes. I can only imagine, but it seems like you're doing a great job. He looks happy. His compliment made her heart flutter, catching her a bit off guard. She looked away, focusing on Max, but the warmth of Marcus's gaze lingered, wrapping around her like a soft blanket. Thanks. It's not always easy, but moments like these make it worth it. Mom, come see this. Max shouted again, excitement bubbling over as he pointed at a sleek stingray gliding effortlessly through the water. All right, buddy, I'm coming. Leela replied, moving to join him. As they approached the tank, she could feel Marcus lingering behind, his presence like a gentle breeze that brought a sense of calm with it. Once they were at the stingray tank, Leela found herself caught up in the moment again, watching as the creatures danced gracefully below the surface. But she could feel Marcus's gaze on her, and it sent a tiny shiver down her spine, a sensation she hadn't experienced in what felt like forever. Did you know that stingrays can sense the electrical fields of their prey? He asked, now standing beside her. Really, that's fascinating, Leela replied, genuinely intrigued. I had no idea. They're pretty incredible creatures. Not to mention, they can be quite affectionate if you get the chance to interact with them. Her heart raced at the thought. I'd love to see that. Incredible as they are, you might want to hold off on petting them until you've had a few more visits under your belt, he teased, a twinkle in his eye. Safety first, right? Definitely, Leela laughed. I'd prefer to keep my limbs intact. Smart choice, Marcus said, leaning a little closer, the chemistry between them palpable. So, what do you do when you're not exploring the wonders of the ocean with your son? I'm a graphic designer, she replied, feeling a bit shy as she shared a piece of herself. It's a freelance gig, so I get to set my own hours. Most days I work from home and try to squeeze in some creativity between Max's school schedule. Impressive, he admired, clearly impressed. That must require a lot of discipline, especially being a single parent. It does, but I love it. Creating is my escape. It's therapeutic in a way. Sounds like you found a balance, he noted, his tone suggestive of more than just casual interest. Leela felt her cheeks flush again but managed to keep her composure. I try. It can get lonely though. I mean, parenting is one thing, but sometimes I miss having someone to share it with. Her honesty hung in the air and Leela instantly regretted her candidness. But Marcus didn't seem fazed. Instead, he leaned slightly closer, his voice softening. I get that. It's important to have someone in your corner, someone to share both the joys and the challenges with. The sincerity in his voice struck a chord deep within her. She had spent so much time focusing on being strong for Max, on navigating the waters of single motherhood alone, that she had almost forgotten what it felt like to connect with someone on a deeper level. For a moment, it felt as if they were the only two people in the aquarium, surrounded by the ethereal glow of the ocean life, the world outside fading into a distant hum. But the reality of her life awaited just beyond the glass, a reminder that enchantment, like the depths of the ocean, held many mysteries, some beautiful, some perilous. Max, are you ready to go see the sea turtles? She called out, breaking the spell as she turned back to her son, who was still enraptured by the stingrays. "Yeah, let's go," he exclaimed, running off again. As Leela turned to follow him, she felt a gentle hand on her arm. "Hey, maybe I'll run into you two again. I'd love to hear more about your design work, or just talk about stingrays." His light-hearted tone and the way he held her gaze made Leela's heart race again. "I'd like that," she managed to say, surprised by how sincere the words felt. "Great, I'll be around," Marcus said, stepping back slightly and offering her a smile that sent warmth flooding through her. As she turned to join Max, Part 2, the single mom got lost at the aquarium. As Leela hurried to catch up with Max, she couldn't shake off the warmth of Marcus's gaze. His words lingered in her mind like a soft melody, echoing a promise of connection that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. She turned her thoughts back to her son, who was now peering intently at a tank filled with vibrantly colored sea turtles. "There they are, Mom. Look at how big they are," Max exclaimed, his excitement palpable as he pressed his small hands against the glass. The turtles glided through the water with a grace that belied their size, their shells decorated with patterns that seemed to tell stories of the ocean's depths. "They're amazing," Leela agreed, kneeling beside him, but her mind drifted back to Marcus. She could picture him leaning against the tank, that playful spark in his eye as he talked about sea creatures with infectious enthusiasm. A part of her wondered what it would be like to let him into her life, even for just a moment longer. "What do you think they're saying to each other?" Max pondered aloud, his brow furrowing in a way that reminded her of all the times he'd asked profound questions about life. "Maybe they're discussing where to find the best seaweed," she suggested playfully, nudging him gently. He giggled, the sound brightening her heart. "Or maybe they're planning a secret underwater party." "Yeah, and we're not invited," she laughed, reveling in the innocence of his imagination. It was moments like this that made the struggles of single motherhood feel lighter. But as they moved on to the next exhibit, the mesmerizing world of coral reefs, Leela found herself glancing back toward the jellyfish tank, half expecting to see Marcus still there. But he was gone, and with him, the unexpected connection they had forged seemed to dissipate like the bubbles rising in the water. "Look, Mom." Max tugged at her sleeve, pointing to a tank filled with tiny clownfish darting in and out of an anemone. "Just like in Finding Nemo." "Yes, just like Nemo and Marlin," Leela replied, her heart swelling with love for her son. The way his eyes lit up at the sight of those little fish reminded her why she fought so hard through the long nights and the long days filled with worry. As they continued through the aquarium, Leela felt a subtle ache in her chest. The loneliness she often brushed aside began to creep in again. While Max was her whole world, there was an undeniable emptiness that sometimes lingered just beneath the surface, one that a single encounter with a captivating stranger had brought to light. "Can we go to the gift shop after this?" Max asked, breaking her reverie. "I want to get a toy turtle." "Of course, buddy," she answered, ruffling his hair affectionately. "But only if you promise not to spend all your allowance in one go." "Deal," he said, his excitement bubbling over as he raced ahead to the next exhibit. As they moved through the aquarium, Leela found herself glancing at the exit from time to time, half expecting to see Marcus again. She pushed the thought away, reminding herself that she was here for Max, to create memories that would last. Besides, what would she even say to him? Would it be too forward to suggest they meet up again? The idea made her heart flutter, and she chastised herself for letting her imagination run wild. After exploring the vibrant colors of the coral reef display, Leela and Max finally made their way to the gift shop. The shop was bustling with families, the air filled with laughter and playful banter as children hurried to pick their favorite souvenirs. Leela watched as Max darted from shelf to shelf, his enthusiasm infectious. "Mom, look at this," he called, holding up a plush turtle that was almost as big as he was. "Wow, that's a big one." She laughed, imagining how he would parade around the house with it, claiming it as his new best friend. "But remember, we have a budget." "Fine," he sighed dramatically, dropping it back onto the shelf. "What about this one?" He held up a small, orange clownfish plush instead, its glittering eyes sparkling with mischief. "That one is perfect." She smiled, feeling a sense of relief wash over her as she watched him bounce on his heels in excitement. "Let's get that one." After they made their purchase, a plush clownfish and a small packet of gummy sea creatures, Max clutched his new treasure tightly as they stepped back outside into the bright daylight. The sun was warm on Leela's skin, and for a moment, she felt an almost buoyant joy in the air, the way it had felt inside the aquarium, surrounded by the wonders of life below the surface. "Can we get ice cream?" Max asked, gazing up at her with those wide, hopeful eyes that always made her heart melt. "Of course, you've been so good today." As they made their way toward a nearby ice cream stand, Leela couldn't help but feel a nagging sense of yearning. The warmth of the sun contrasted with the lingering sensation of something left unsaid, a connection half-formed and now drifting away like a jellyfish in the tide. "Mom, can I get chocolate sprinkles?" Max interrupted her thoughts, pulling her back into the moment. "Yes, you can get chocolate sprinkles," she said, smiling down at him, grateful for the simple joy of being his mother. As they ordered their ice cream, Max opting for a vibrant swirl of blue and green with a mountain of sprinkles on top, Leela allowed herself a moment to breathe, to appreciate this strange, beautiful day. As they sat on a bench, watching passers-by and licking their cones, Max began recounting everything they had seen at the aquarium, his words tumbling out in an excited rush. "And then the turtles were swimming and the stingrays were flying. Did you see how they looked like they were flying?" "Absolutely. You did such a great job noticing everything, buddy," Leela said, beaming at him. "I'm really proud of you." "Thanks, Mom," he beamed, his face smeared with ice cream. "Do you think we can go back again next week?" "Maybe we can," she replied, but her thoughts flitted back to Marcus. She wished she could introduce him to Max to share those moments of awe together. The warmth of her son's laughter, the way he lit up the world around him, was something she wanted to share with someone special. As they finished their ice cream, Leela felt a gentle tug in her heart. Deep down, she wanted more than just fleeting encounters. She longed for companionship, for someone who could share the weight of parenting with her or simply lighten her heart with laughter. "Mom," Max called, his voice a mixture of innocence and curiosity. "Do you think there are nice boys like Marcus in the ocean, just swimming around?" The question caught Leela off guard, and she looked up to see Max's innocent face, his eyes wide with genuine curiosity. Well, not exactly like Marcus, sweetie. People don't really swim in the ocean like sea creatures do." "Yeah, but wouldn't it be cool?" He pressed on, undeterred, like if there were mermaids and mermen and they were nice to people. Leela couldn't help but smile at his imagination. "It would be very cool, and I'm sure they would be the best friends ever." "Do you think they would be friends with you too?" he asked, tilting his head as he considered this. "I think they would love hanging out with you," she replied, her heart swelling at the thought of her son imagining a world full of magic and wonder. "But they'd probably be pretty busy swimming. I mean, they have the whole ocean to explore, right?" "True," he laughed, looking thoughtful. "But if they could, I bet they'd want to hang out with you both." Leela's heart ached anew at the sweetness of his words, the way his innocence wrapped around her like a lifeline. "Maybe one day we'll meet a mermaid," she said, determined to uplift the moment. "And we can ask her if she knows anyone who can swim like Marcus." Max giggled, his laughter ringing through the air, and Leela couldn't help but join in. Just as their laughter faded, she felt a familiar, warm sensation creeping back into her chest. It was then, through the noise of children and parents surrounding them, that she caught a glimpse of a familiar figure, Marcus, standing across the street, his gaze trained on her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Mom, is that Marcus?" Max exclaimed, pointing. Leela's heart raced as she nodded, caught off guard by the flurry of emotions that washed over her. Marcus crossed the street with a confidence that sent a thrill through her, and as he approached, the world around her faded away, leaving only the vibrant colors of the moment. "Hey there," he called, his voice warm and inviting. "I was hoping to run into you again." Leela felt her cheeks flush as she stood, suddenly aware of the ice cream remnants on her son's face, the slight chaos of their day reflected in their clothes. "What a coincidence," she managed to say. Part 3. The single mom got lost at the aquarium. As Marcus approached, Leela felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness bubble within her. There was something magnetic about the way he moved, his presence commanding yet inviting. Max stood beside her, clutching his plush clownfish like a cherished trophy, oblivious to the electric tension in the air. "Hi, Max. Nice to see you again," Marcus said, kneeling down to be at eye level with her son. The sincere warmth in his voice made Leela's heart flutter. "Hi," Max replied, his eyes wide. "Did you see the turtles? They were huge." "I did," Marcus nodded, chuckling. "But I think you were the one who stole the show with all your exciting facts. You're like a little marine biologist in training." Max beamed at the compliment, and Leela couldn't help but smile at the way her son instantly connected with Marcus. This moment felt like a bridge, spanning the gap between their worlds, and for a brief moment, she allowed herself to imagine what it might be like if that bridge became something more permanent. "What are you two up to now?" Marcus asked, straightening up and glancing at Leela, his gaze lingering a moment longer than necessary. The subtle spark ignited in her chest again, and she felt her cheeks warm. "We just finished our ice cream," Leela replied, pushing a few loose strands of hair behind her ear, a nervous habit she had when feeling exposed. Max wanted to explore some more, but I think we might be ready to head home soon. "Oh, don't rush off just yet," Marcus said, his tone teasing but genuine. "I hear there's a special exhibit on sea lions just around the corner. You wouldn't want to miss that, would you?" "Sea lions?" Max exclaimed, his eyes lighting up again. "Can we, Mom, please?" Leela hesitated, her mind racing. She had plans for the evening dinner, a little downtime before the chaos of bedtime. But here was Marcus, standing in front of them, inviting them into an adventure that felt both tempting and thrilling. "Well, I suppose we could take a quick look," she conceded, her heart racing at the thought of spending more time with Marcus. "Yes, let's go," Max shouted, bounding ahead, his excitement infectious. Leela found herself laughing as she watched him sprint toward the exit, the plush clownfish bouncing in his arms. "Lead the way, little man," Marcus called after him, and Leela followed, feeling the warmth of Marcus's presence close behind her like a soft glow. As they walked through the aquarium's winding corridors, Leela couldn't help but steal glances at Marcus. He walked with an easy confidence, his hands casually shoved in his pockets, and she found herself captivated not just by his looks, but by the way he engaged with the world around him. There was an undeniable chemistry, a pulse of energy between them that made her heart race and her mind swirl with possibilities. "So, Max," Marcus said, lowering his voice to make it more intimate, "what's the coolest thing you learned at the aquarium today?" Max thought for a moment, his brows furrowing in concentration. "That jellyfish can glow. It's like they have their own lights." "Bioluminescence," Marcus corrected gently, clearly impressed. "That's a great term. Did you know that some types of jellyfish can even be immortal?" "Wait, what? Really?" Max's eyes widened, and Leela couldn't help but smile at the way he was so easily enthralled by knowledge. Yep, it's called Turritopsis doanei, and it can revert back to its juvenile form, basically starting its life over. Leela watched as the two of them exchanged thoughts, an almost effortless connection forming between them. Her heart swelled at the sight of them, the way Marcus engaged her son with such enthusiasm. It illuminated a part of her that had been shrouded in shadows for too long. "Wow, that's epic," Max replied, practically bouncing on his feet. "I want to be like that jellyfish." "Let's just hope you don't have to go through your teenage years again," Leela joked, wishing she could bottle up this moment and keep it forever. "Agreed, teenagers are a mess." Marcus winked, and Leela felt the warmth of his gaze wrap around her like a gentle embrace. When they finally reached the sea lion exhibit, they were greeted by a lively scene. The sun streamed in through the large glass windows, illuminating the sleek bodies of the sea lions as they basked on rocks, their playful barks echoing through the space. Max hurried to the edge of the enclosure, his eyes sparkling with delight. "Look at them, they're so cute," he exclaimed, bouncing on his toes. "They are, aren't they?" Marcus replied, moving to stand beside her, their shoulders brushing. Leela felt a jolt of electricity at the contact, each small touch igniting a fire within her. "I always thought they looked like they were having so much fun, just lounging around." "Must be a great life," Leela said, her gaze drifting toward Max, who was now imitating the sea lion's sounds, causing a few nearby parents to chuckle. "I wish I could just lay by the beach all day without a care in the world." "Maybe one day you can," Marcus suggested, his voice dropping to a softer timbre that sent shivers racing down her spine. "You should definitely take Max to the coast. It's stunning, especially at sunset." "Yeah," she replied, heart fluttering. "That sounds perfect. I used to love going to the beach before everything changed. Now it's hard to carve out that kind of time." "I get it," he said, a shadow of understanding passing over his features. "Life can be demanding, but it's important to find those moments for yourself. You deserve it." The sincerity in his voice made her heart ache. She saw a glimmer of something in his eyes, a depth that spoke to her own struggles, her own desires. "It's hard to remember that sometimes, you know. I've been so focused on making sure Max has everything he needs that I've neglected my own happiness." "Max is lucky to have you," Marcus said, his voice low and earnest. "But you deserve happiness too, Leela. It looks beautiful on you." Her breath hitched at his compliment and she looked away, caught off guard by the weight of his words. The air between them thickened, the chemistry palpable as they stood side by side, watching the sea lions splash playfully in the water. "Hey Mom, look!" Max shouted, pointing excitedly as a particularly robust sea lion leaped out of the water, catching a fish tossed by one of the trainers. "Did you see that? They're like dolphins, but fuzzier." "Yes, they're amazing," Leela exclaimed, grateful for the distraction. She watched Max's face light up with joy, and in that moment she realized that despite the complexities of her life, these moments, filled with laughter, curiosity, and connection, were what mattered most. As the trainer engaged the sea lions, Leela felt Marcus shift closer, their shoulders brushing again. "What about you, Leela? Do you have a favorite sea creature?" "Probably dolphins. They're so intelligent and playful. I've always admired how they communicate." "They're incredible animals," Marcus agreed. And for a moment they stood in shared silence, the world around them fading into a soft hum. "You know, if we ever have a chance to meet up again, I'd love to take you both to see dolphins in the wild," Marcus suggested casually. Yet Leela could sense the underlying invitation woven into his words. "There are some great spots along the coast where you can see them swimming." Her heart raced at the thought. "That sounds amazing." "Let's make it happen," he said, his eyes sparkling with sincerity. "There's a whole world out there waiting to be explored." Before Leela could respond, Max interrupted, tugging on her sleeve. "Mom, I want to see them jump again." Leela turned her attention back to her son, her heart lightening. "Okay, let's see if they'll do it again." She glanced at Marcus, who was clearly savoring this moment with them, his smile genuine and warm. As they watched the sea lions perform, Leela felt the tension of the day fade away, replaced by the warmth of camaraderie and the possibility of something more. The connection between them felt undeniable, a thread weaving its way through their shared laughter, their mutual love for the ocean, and the innocent joy radiating from Max. "Thank you for joining us today," Leela said softly, grateful for his presence. "I wasn't expecting to meet someone like you here." Marcus turned to her, his gaze penetrating and sincere. "I wasn't either, to be honest, but I'm glad I did. You and Max have made my day a lot brighter." As they shared a smile, Leela felt a voice inside her whisper that this could be the beginning of something beautiful. Maybe those days of loneliness could be transformed into shared moments filled with laughter, adventure, and connection. The sea lions barked playfully, and her heart felt lighter as Max giggled, lost in a world of wonder. In that moment, Leela, Part 4, the single mom got lost at the aquarium. In the midst of the sea lion exhibit, Leela felt enveloped by warmth, a tapestry of joy woven from the laughter of her son and the magnetic presence of Marcus standing beside her. The playful splashes of water, the excited barks of the sea lions, and the sun filtering through the glass made the moment feel almost surreal. She turned to her son, whose face was lit up with delight, and felt a swell of gratitude wash over her. "Mom, they're so cool," Max shouted, his voice brimming with excitement, oblivious to the undercurrent of tension that thrummed between Leela and Marcus. "They really are, buddy," she replied, ruffling his hair affectionately. "It's like they're performing just for us. Like little ocean performers," Max proclaimed with unabashed enthusiasm. He bounced on his heels, his plush clownfish clutched tightly to his side. His joy was infectious, and Leela couldn't help but smile as she watched him. "Exactly, and just think they've probably been practicing all day," Marcus added, squatting to Max's level again. "What do you think they're rehearsing for? A big show?" Max's eyes widened in delight. "Yeah, maybe they're going to be movie stars. Or maybe they're hoping to win an award for Best Splash." Marcus winked, eliciting more laughter from Max. Leela watched the two interact, the natural ease with which Marcus engaged her son filling her with a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. It reminded her of the simple pleasures of life, moments that slipped by unnoticed in the chaos of everyday responsibilities. "Do you have a favorite sea creature, Marcus?" Max asked, turning his attention back to the man who had captured not just his interest, but Leela's as well. Marcus thought for a moment, his brow furrowing in exaggerated contemplation. "That's a tough question. I think I'd have to go with dolphins. They're smart, social, and love to play, just like you." He grinned, and Leela felt a flutter in her chest at the way he included Max in the conversation. "Dolphins are awesome. We should go see them," Max exclaimed, his imagination running wild. "Maybe we can," Marcus said, casting a sidelong glance at Leela, an invitation hidden in his gaze. "I know some great spots where you can see them swimming in their natural habitat. It's a breathtaking experience." "You should definitely take us," Leela said, her heart racing at the thought. "That would be amazing." "I'd love to," he assured her, his tone serious but laced with a playful undertone that both thrilled and comforted her. "But only if I get to see your artistic talents at work. I'm curious about your designs." "Oh, it's nothing fancy," Leela replied, trying to dismiss the compliment. "Just a way to make a living. I create branding and digital illustrations for clients. It keeps me busy." Busy is good, but it's also important to have fun, Marcus said. It's about balance, right? Tell me about it, she replied, her voice softening as she met his gaze. The intensity in his blue eyes made her heart skip a beat. It's easy to lose sight of that when everything feels like a whirlwind. Sometimes I forget to take a breath. Then maybe you and Max need more moments like this, Marcus suggested, glancing over at her son, who was now enraptured by the antics of a particularly cheeky sea lion. Life is too short not to enjoy it. Leela nodded, feeling a strange kinship forming in the space between them. It's definitely easier said than done, though. I've spent so long focused solely on being a good mom that I've neglected, well, me. Marcus's expression shifted slightly, a flicker of understanding passing between them. It's important to remember that you're allowed to want happiness too, Leela. You deserve it. Her heart thudded loudly in her chest at his words, his sincerity cutting through the barrier she had built around her emotions. She felt vulnerable, yet strangely liberated, as if they were unearthing buried ideas of what it meant to be both a mother and a person. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I mean it." The intensity in his gaze made her stomach flutter. "If you ever feel like sharing your world with someone, I'd love to be that person." Leela felt the air thicken between them, a tension woven from unspoken possibilities. She could almost hear the gentle hum of chemistry grounding them in a shared reality, a feeling she hadn't dared to entertain in years. "That's really thoughtful of you. Hey, look at that one," Max shouted, pointing as a sea lion leaped dramatically from the water, twisting in the air before landing with a flourish that sent a spray of water toward the audience. Leela turned her attention back to her son, who was laughing joyfully, his face lit with wonder. "Did you see that? It was amazing," he exclaimed, eyes sparkling with excitement. "It really was," Leela agreed, chuckling at his enthusiasm. "You're right, Max. These sea lions are the best performers here." "Just like me," Max proclaimed proudly, puffing out his chest. "I can perform too. I could be a sea lion and do flips." "Absolutely," Marcus said, leaning closer, his voice conspiratorial. "You'd be the star of the show. I can already picture it. Max the Magnificent, king of the sea lions." Max gasped dramatically, placing a hand over his heart. "Yes, I'll take all the sea lions on a tour of the aquarium." As they laughed together, Leela felt a warmth unfurling in her chest. This moment, this connection, felt different. It was lush with potential, and as she exchanged looks with Marcus, she realized how deeply she craved companionship. The kind that came with laughter, understanding, and the possibility of something more. "Speaking of shows," Marcus said, breaking her reverie, "I've got an idea." He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "How about we all take a selfie with the sea lions in the background? It'll be a memory to keep forever." "That's a great idea," Leela replied, heart pounding with excitement and slight trepidation. The thought of capturing this moment with Marcus and Max felt monumental, as if it were marking the beginning of something precious. "Okay, everyone smile," Marcus called, holding up his phone with a confident grin. Leela and Max positioned themselves beside each other, laughter bubbling up as they struck exaggerated poses. Max threw his arms wide, his plush clownfish held high, while Leela couldn't help but mirror her son's exuberance, leaning in close to him. "Say sea lion," Marcus shouted, and they both shouted it in unison, laughter spilling into the air as the camera clicked. "Perfect," Marcus declared, grinning as he lowered the phone. "That's going to be a great memory." As Leela looked at the picture, a small part of her heart swelled at the sight of the three of them together. It was a snapshot of joy, an unguarded moment captured in time, and she couldn't help but feel a tinge of hope stirring within her. "Can we do another one?" Max asked eagerly, bouncing on his toes. Of course, Leela said, feeling buoyed by her son's exuberance. Let's do a silly one next. Great idea, Marcus chimed in, his eyes sparkling as he pointed the camera back at them. This time, let's make the most ridiculous faces we can. With that, they all contorted their faces into exaggerated expressions, Leela pulling a goofy pout, Max sticking out his tongue, and Marcus making a mock surprised face. The camera clicked, and the sound echoed like a burst of laughter. Those are going to be my favorite pictures, Leela said, shaking her head as she caught her breath. I can't wait to show them to you later, Max. Me too, Max exclaimed, already bubbling over with excitement. I'm gonna tell all my friends. As they settled into a more relaxed stance, Marcus turned to Leela, his voice slightly lower. I'd love to get those pictures if you're okay with it. It would be nice to have a reminder of today. Definitely, she replied, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. I'd like that. Marcus smiled, and for a moment the world around them faded away. You know, I'm really glad I bumped into you both today. It's refreshing to meet someone who shares a love for adventure. Leela felt her heart flutter at his words, and she took a breath to steady herself. I'm glad too. It's been a while since I felt this, connected to someone. Me too, he said softly, his gaze holding hers for a beat longer. Life has a way of getting busy, but it's moments like these that remind me of what truly matters. As she considered his words, wrapped in the warmth of his presence, Leela felt something shift within her. The barriers she had built around her heart began to crack, letting in the light of possibility. Perhaps there was room in her,